Hello and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Rangers. I'm your host, Kyle McLean, and as always, I'm joined by my fellow co-host, Ross Chalmers. Ross, I asked you last week how you were last Thursday when we were live. I'll ask you the same question again today. I'm expecting a bit of a different answer today.
Yeah, I'm very well. What a weekend we've had as Rangers supporters. I'm still kind of coming down from that game. Yesterday it was, I will get into it, but I thought the Ibrox atmosphere was unbelievable yesterday. So to be a part of that and to get a result as big as we did was wonderful. So yeah, I'm really good, Kyle. It's been good. It's not been the worst Monday when you're going into work and you're speaking to people off the back of a result like that. It's a lot more enjoyable, isn't it? So yeah, it's been good. How's things with yourself? All good?
Yeah, likewise. I've just been choking to get home and talk about yesterday. Especially it was such a good day, and it's been a long time since we've had that at Ibrox. And as you said, that atmosphere was just I cannot wait to talk about the atmosphere and the fans later on in the podcast. But listen, as always, we will go and we'll get straight into it. Rangers with a massive 3 points at Ibrox against Hearts. It just felt like the statement win. And I've got to say, it's going to be nice, this podcast, going to be able to say, I don't have to keep caveating it with the opposition that we were playing against. But the game began with a Hearts goal from a Rangers error. You can make your mind up in who you want to blame for this one. But the long and short of it is, it was an excellent finish from Leonard. Shortly after that, Rangers got up the pitch. It's a fantastic cross from Rommens. Rangers have a few shots in target here, and after some perseverance from the forwards, especially Ryan, Don, Naderi, it's 1-1. Hearts then totally against the run of play get the next goal. It's an outstanding header. That's me combining header and Suter together there. It's an outstanding header, but Suter, for me, just gets caught under the ball again. Rangers around the 40-minute mark get level with the first of three excellent finishes from Big Chermiti, who, Ross, you can back me up on this. Somebody might have said yesterday before that game that they had a feeling that he was scoring today. But after that, going into the second half, it's a great play from Skov Olsen. That was something I'm sure we'll talk about, is the switch from left to right. Quite a lot of times they found him out there. He had an unbelievable cross, which Chermiti found the header. Again, I think this is one of my favourite goals at Ibrox this year, because I think you and Craig were turning around to celebrate, and I was already about 10 foot up in the air for that one, Ross. Really good ball in from the Dane and a bullet header, and then icing in the cake just to make the last few minutes not as nervy as what they have been at Ibrox recently. It's a really good run from, and this is how he should be used, on the left, impact sub Gassama, and then he finally finds Chermiti, and it's a composed pass and a composed finish from him. There's so much to be positive about in that yesterday. Rangers' use of the ball in possession. I thought we were really good with the ball out of possession. I'm looking at you, Tochi, Chukwuani. I thought we really exploited space as well, and we just kept going, taking the game to Hearts. Two most important things for me yesterday, Ross, were the fact that we rallied really well going behind. Never looked... I honestly don't think Rangers didn't have control at any point during the goals in that game. But the other point for me, we've already touched on it, was how amazing that atmosphere was. Rangers deserved to win that game yesterday, Ross, against the league leaders, on just based on their efforts alone. What was your thought? I know I've gone on a bit ranty there, but what was your thoughts on that game yesterday?
Yeah, I was actually really proud of the performance yesterday, because I think obviously the football wasn't, the most attractive on the eye. It wasn't as like tiki-taka football, you know what I mean, Barcelona style, but it was a real, hard working like performance from Rangers. I think going into a game like that, you're coming up against a Hearts side who deserve all the credit that they've been getting this season and all the plaudits they've been receiving. Really good, well-organised side. But actually yesterday, I thought Rangers played them off the park. To be honest, I don't think Hearts really created anything outside of the two chances they have. Both of them, you have to say, like you said in your assessment, were really well taken finishes. I think it's a brilliant finish from Mark Leonard. And then the Braga header is top, like really good. And actually, that's the couple of times I've seen him in the flesh now. He's a very good player. Like Hearts have signed a really good player there in Claudio Braga. But outside of that, they really didn't pose a lot of threat. And I think that comes down to how good Rangers were yesterday. They put them under a lot of pressure. Really liked the initial shape from Danny Röhl, where he really went for it. This was a game that I think he'd learned a lot of lessons from Wednesday night against Motherwell, and he wanted to freshen things up, as we predicted on Thursday. And I just thought that performance was something that, it responded to a lot of critics, I think, because Danny Röhl, the manager himself, faced a lot of fair criticism during the week, and I think the players did as well. And I think a lot of people have been questioning the character of this side, the mentality of the side. And again, the manager referenced that in his press conference yesterday after the game, where he said, you can't question these players. Look, we'll see where we are at the end of the season, but they have got, they know what it takes. They know what they have to give to be in this title race and potentially win it. So, yeah, I don't think we could ask for a better response to the midweek disappointment. And like I said, showed a lot of character. And I think it was a game that we had to win, because we were speaking about this before you come into the ground. You know, you see that goal go in for Celtic in the last minute, and the pressure gets ramped up even more. That's a title race. And I think Rangers probably came into the ground knowing that they had to deliver a result. And we've seen plenty of times at Ibrox, if they go behind and the crowd can get in their back. And actually yesterday, the crowd didn't. And I think the players really responded to that, and they fought back and they won the game. So, yeah, I'm sure we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the game and everything that happened from it, and all the talking points. But really, I was proud of the performance. And what I really like to see is that Rangers really are wanting to establish themselves in this title race. They're 2 points off the top now. They have a decent run of fixtures coming up as well. Go out there, continue momentum, and we have a real chance at the end of the season.
That's it. It's just, it was one of the few times that what was working off the pitch with the management stuff, what was happening on the pitch, and what was happening in the stands all married up. And see, when all those three things are all singing for the same hymn sheet, it is absolutely brilliant to see. But listen, last Thursday when we went live, Ross, the way we sort of broke it down is the starting 11, the substitutions, and the shape and the formation, and we totally panned Röhl for all three of those things. And I think quite rightly so. He did come out, as you said, he addressed a lot of these things in the media. I think he's really good at handling pressure, but I just want to kind of address these things again in terms of this game and how much of a contrast it was to Motherwell. That's the phrase that we have been using with Danny Röhl, and it's pragmatic, and this was just another pragmatic approach. I want to start in the starting 11. Came out Butland in goal, Sterling at right back, Suter, Fernandes, Rommens, Raskin, Chukwuani as the midfielders, Skov Olsen and Moore out wide, and Naderi and Chermiti two up top. I know you can get into the 4-4-2 or the sort of Red Bull 4-2-2-2 with Danny Röhl, but what did you make up of Röhl's intent and how strong that lineup was yesterday for just setting the tone right off the bat?
Yeah, I think it was brave, and it probably shows you now what he was referring to on Wednesday when he was talking about the two games. He was really looking at them as a pairing, and he had to manage the squad appropriately. And we can all look back in that Motherwell game and think he got it wrong, but then you can, say in the other way that he got it right in terms of his selection yesterday, and maybe those players were a little bit more well rested coming into that game, and they get the result. So yeah, I thought the selection was brave, and I think he got his rewards. I think it was 5 changes from Motherwell, which was quite a turn. But I think that probably shows you that he probably wasn't satisfied with Motherwell, regardless of his selection. He probably wasn't satisfied with the performance level. So I think there's maybe a slight shift now from Danny Röhl, and it's something we spoke about on Thursday, in that you're going to have to go and win this title. And I think Rangers have enough quality within their side now after the January additions to go and do that. I don't think that we should be approaching every game with the idea of, maintaining that clean sheet, keeping things tight, and we'll see if we can grind out a result. I think Rangers have enough quality now that they can go and be a little bit more expansive, be a little bit more aggressive, maybe press teams a little bit higher up the park. And I think you've started to see that in recent weeks, and I think you've seen it all come together yesterday. I think I said at the beginning, it wasn't the prettiest on the eye to watch, but it was fast flowing, aggressive football. There wasn't too much other than the first maybe 15, 20 minutes where Rangers were trying to find their way into the game. The majority of the time, Rangers were looking to play through, and they were looking to play through pretty quickly. And I think that comes from the manager. I think he wanted to try and find Ryan Naderi and Youssef Chermiti as quickly as possible and play off. And there was a really good article today, actually, from Joshua Barry in Rangers Review, where he was talking about the setup and the whole idea, the kind of Red Bull philosophy, is that you're kind of flooding that last line. And I think you've seen that a lot yesterday. Now, if you think back to Rangers' build-up yesterday, it was really Fernandes, Suter, and it was either Raskin or Chukwuani, and the rest of the players were in the forward line. If you think back to it, it really was all about flooding the opposition and really giving them a lot of things to think about in that forward line. And I think we got our results. You know, if you score four goals, you've done something right. So yeah, like I said in my opening statement, I think you have to give a lot of credit to Danny Röhl, because there was fair criticism, during the week. And I think he's responded to that really, really well. And I think he picked a team yesterday that went out and said that we are going to go and win this game regardless of Hearts and their form this season, how well they've approached these games in the past. Because like we said, they hadn't lost to either of the Old Firm sides coming into this game. I think you're looking at a manager that's went, we're going to go and win this. We're going to really be aggressive in this game and hopefully get the results. And that's what we've done. So another big thing before we move on, I love the celebration running down the line. It's brilliant, because it's probably it's that he's letting the emotion out there, right? Because it would have been a tense game for him as well. So for that goal to go in, seal it, and he's running down the touchline, it's brilliant. And I think again that the fans and the support can really resonate with that, because he's shown a little bit of emotion. So yeah, all round, not a great day for the manager on Wednesday, but a brilliant day for him yesterday, and Rangers get the rewards.
Yeah, that's it. I'd love to know the collective views of the Rangers fans. I think I must have watched him running up and down that touchline about 100 times already, so I can only imagine how many times everybody else has watched it as well. But A-League Prospects here, he says the RB formation must stay. What did you make of that 4-4-2, 4-2-2 sort of hybrid system, when it allows us to exploit these spaces, it allows us to split the lines and things like that, and I don't know, I think we have very, very good personnel for that system, especially the players that he picked yesterday. But you talked about that aggressive press and flooding the back line. How much do you think that system and the personnel within that system contributed to keeping that press and aggressiveness up yesterday?
I think the two big strikers up front make the most of that. You know what I mean? They're a big part of that. I think you can really start to see now why the club have pushed the boat out to get Ryan Naderi, because I thought yesterday, he had a lot of nice touches. I thought he carried the ball really well. I thought his link-up play with lots of players around the pitch was really good and dropping into space. But actually, the biggest thing with yesterday was he really complimented Youssef Chermiti. And I think you're now seeing that you can probably get a little bit more out of Youssef Chermiti if you play someone close to him. It doesn't necessarily always have to be a striker. You could play someone else up high next to him, like a number 10. I've spoke to you about this before. Won't be popular at the moment, I'm sure, with the way he's been playing. But I can see Taylor Asgard playing that role as well, just because of the physicality. He's big, and he is someone that's creative in the last line, or it should be creative in the last line based on the role that he's supposed to play in this side. So I think that is what made the difference. I think you had two 6'2", 6'3" aggressive strikers on Hearts' back line, and I thought they really made it difficult for Hearts yesterday. I think you felt that. I mean, there was times where Craig Halkett he looked absolutely finished, because he was just dealing with the two of them all day. So I think that's the big thing for me. The other thing as well is that the kind of Skov Olsen, Mikey Moore, he's bringing those two players inside yesterday a lot. So it was like a kind of box midfield. He was trying to overflow that last line. And then he had a Tuur Rommens and a Dujon Stel on the outside. Both of them are really wide yesterday. They were really close to the touchline at all times, and then it allowed Moore and Skov Olsen to tuck in. And then you've got like a Tochi, Chukwuani and Raskan sitting behind that give you a little bit of security. So I think the shape is something that we will persevere with now. I don't really see us going away from that. I think that's the shape that Danny Röhl wants to play. I think he's got the personnel there for it now. And actually, I think we've all felt as a support sometimes that we do want to see more than one striker in the park, because we feel in this league that you are going to dominate possession most of the time. Can you have another player in the forward line, a striker that can make a difference? And I think it's such a good sign that early doors, it looked like the two of them really work well together. So I'm really encouraged by it. I'm really encouraged by the shape. I'm really encouraged by the personnel he's choosing at the moment. And I think there's a good squad there now that you can work with. I mean, even if you look at the bench yesterday, there's lots of people that you would be happy to bring on and make a difference, as they did. So yeah, I'm really encouraged by it. I think the manager's got something that we can work with now, and 11 games to go. Let's see how well he can implement it.
Yeah, Wesley 18 here, just to be comment, he says, does Sterling suit that system with the quality of delivery at right back? As prime Tav would be outstanding with that space at right back. Yeah, I do agree with that statement, but I think Sterling will have to do for now. And that
Yeah,
system,
I think in the predicted lineups yesterday, I went for Tav, and it was for the reason that Wes was talking about there, because of what he gives you in an attacking sense. But actually, I think it worked out really well with the manager yesterday, where he did use Sterling up till 60 minutes, and then he brought Tav on at the end. And actually, Tav had a really good couple of balls down the sideline and things, and he was really good in the build-up for the third goal. So I think, again, you manage Tav properly, you'll get more out of him. If you ask him to play 90 minutes every week or 2 times a week, he's just not got it anymore. He's not going to be able to deliver at the rate you want him to. So actually, I think it's great management again from Danny Röhl, where he's trying to build Sterling up, but at the same time, you have Tav with such good attacking numbers there to come in and influence a game.
No, I know you stole my thunder a wee bit on this next point, because that's what I was coming on to, was his use of the substitutions and how good, because that was a fair criticism that he did face on Wednesday as well. You know, having that, I think that's a good combination, as you said, having Sterling on for 60 minutes, managing his fitness, getting through the graft of the work, and then when the opposition is a bit tired, you want up. There was a moment yesterday where he was tracking back, Tav, and I know you and I looked at each other during the game and we were like, oh, those legs are not so good. But it wasn't even just that. It was the 80 minutes when he took Skov Olsen and Naderi off, who had both played excellent games, and then putting on that Ant-Man, putting on that Diomande, putting on more pace, doing the complete opposite to what we did at Motherwell, and go for the jugular, and eventually we ended up scoring. And then the sub of all subs, and it was 88 minutes, as Moore comes off and Gassama comes on. You and I have been on here previously talking about it. That is the role that I can see Gassama in this team at the moment. He has to be on the left, and he has to come on and running at players when they're tired. And ultimately, see as well, that's the other thing. I don't know. See, a few weeks ago, I don't know if Gassama passes that. I think he takes the shot on there, and I think it was a really, really good pass and finish. What did you make of Röhl's use of the substitutes yesterday, Ross?
Yeah, I'm trying to move on for that Motherwell game, but the subs I thought that night were so poor. But actually, I think the subs he made yesterday were perfect. And it was, I think it was exactly what we were looking for at that stage of the game. And Oliver Ant-Man is someone that can bring off the bench and someone that can carry the ball. And actually, I think he done that well yesterday and created a couple of good chances. Diomande is someone that I actually think is really unfortunate not to start the game. And if it was my choice, it would be Chukwuani and Mohamed Diomande for the foreseeable, to be honest with you, and not to be too negative. But I thought Raskan was poor yesterday, really poor. So I think we're at a point now where that if he isn't playing up to the level that you'd expect, you do have players in there that can come in. So for me, I would like to see a Chukwuani and Diomande get a chance together. But that's maybe not this maybe isn't the podcast for that. But yeah, I thought they made a difference. I think Diomande in those type of games where the ball is getting, is turning over quicker. He is someone that can retain it and help you retain it and carry up the park. And I thought he done that well. But Gassama's the big one, because it's so late in the game as well that you maybe think at that point, look, let's just stick how we are. There's only 5 minutes to go. Let's see it out. But actually what he's probably felt is, look, there's a really good opportunity for us to go and kill the game. And I cannot criticise the manager for that, because I felt that was missing against Motherwell. I felt that that's the way we should have been approaching Motherwell, where you just think this isn't enough, we can go and kill the game. And I think the attitude was different yesterday, and I think we get our rewards. And it's a brilliant run from Jadon Gassama. I think that can't be underestimated, how difficult that is to carry the ball from the edge of your own box right up the byline, cut inside. I think he beats 2 or 3 players, and then, like you said, to have the final ball and the end product, lift your head, find someone in a better position. It's a great finish from Youssef Chermiti, no doubt about it, and he gets his hat-trick, and I'm delighted for him. I'm sure we'll come on and talk about him. But actually, I think the credit has to go to Jadon Gassama at that stage of the game, because he does a lot of the work. And actually, if you go back to the Diomande goal against Motherwell, it's very similar, where someone just takes it from the edge of their own box and carries it all the way forward and creates a chance out of it. So, yeah, I really like it from the manager yesterday. I think he got the subs absolutely spot on. The Jadon Gassama point about the impact sub, and as much as I agree, I don't know if he will be comfortable playing in that role as being an impact sub. I think he's someone that probably feels he's good enough and he's maybe done enough. I know that's up for debate. That should play on that left-hand side more often than not. But certainly if he isn't playing well and he has a role on the bench, that's certainly how you bring him onto the game. I mean, I say this all the time. I was never fast as a footballer. I wish I had the legs. He would be, honestly, imagine playing against him after playing the game for 70, 75 minutes, or even like yesterday where you've played for 85 minutes and someone like that's coming on against you. It'd be an absolute nightmare. So I think that could be a really effective role for JD Gassama. Long term, is he going to be happy with that? I don't think so. But I do think
And that's what you want.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to be happy with that, eh?
No, and you want players fighting for their place. You want them to try and deliver whenever they can. So I think at the moment, okay, that might be his role, but I think he would back himself to probably break back into the team on that left-hand side. But as we said before, Kyle, there's lots of competition for places now. You know, there's real depth in that squad now. And I think you're at that point where if Danny Röhl sticks with 11 close to that going forward, because I think that's arguably our strongest 11, and he varies from it slightly, one or two, I don't think anyone's going to be upset with a starting 11 towards the end of the season. I think that's where we are in terms of depth at the moment. So, yeah, I think we're right to pick up on Danny Röhl yesterday. I think he deserves a lot of credit for how well Rangers kind of controlled that game and ultimately get the win.
Yeah, just I thought that he virtually got everything correct yesterday, and it's very rare that I can say that of a Rangers manager. And if we're going to slaughter him the week before, it's only right we praise him where it's due. But a couple of people reacting just to a couple of things you've said there, Ross. A-League Prospect says, just like Gassama, Tav is an impact sub. And Wessel 18 says, I think Raskin's stamina tenacity is wasted as a 6 and sometimes a bit sloppy in there. In that first half, I think it's safe to say we were both a bit frustrated with him, but he turned it round and he played much, much better in the second half, which is, again, is all you can ask for in there. But there was a wee comment that and I love this. It's said drones, and he says, the Cherminator is back. That was a great hat-trick. People know on here that I'm one of Chermiti's biggest critics. He's been doing my box in for most of the season with, and that's the best way I can put it. But yesterday, Ross, for me, it was 3 very, very well taken goals. He just really seemed to suit that system. He really seemed to suit, as you've already alluded to, having a big guy beside him. But it's just, I've never seen a player be affected by confidence so much like that. The first goal that he got, I genuinely thought, again, I turned round to you after the goal because I was convinced that he was carrying a bit of a knock, and I'm still convinced, even having watched some of the replays back. So for him to go and do that, but just you could just see something just switching in his head after that, and you could literally see the confidence flowing through his body, and he played brilliantly after that. You know, what I want to say is he will get a lot of plaudits for the 3 goals, 3 very well taken goals. But the other side to his game that you saw yesterday when he had confidence, I mean, he was chasing back like 60, 70 yards at times and winning the ball cleanly. And he did it more than once, and he set us up for attacks. And I still don't really know if he's the kind of the target man, the presser, or what. I thought him and Naderi kind of sort of interchanged their roles yesterday. What did you make of the enigma that is Youssef Chermiti? And the final question is, should he spend every night before a game with his missus? Over to you.
If he's gonna perform like that, absolutely, yeah. Go out every night of the week if you want, Youssef. If you're going to deliver big goals and big moments like that, that's absolutely fine with me. I think, look, he's got a good record in the big games now. It's 2 at Parkhead and a hat-trick against Hearts. That's 5 goals in those 2 big games. I think the frustration, I think, with everyone with Youssef Chermiti is I think everyone now does think there is a player in there and there is ability. I think we've seen enough of a glimpse of that, and I don't think you can label him a bad player if he's delivering a hat-trick in a big game like that yesterday. I think the big frustration we all have is the consistency, isn't it? You want to see that week in, week out, and I'm not sure we've seen that yet. I'm hoping that is to come. I'm hoping he's still trying to find his feet a little bit and get that, you know, that level of match fitness that you're looking for. He has had a few knocks this season, which has maybe held him back a little bit too. But I think you're right to describe him that way. He is an enigma. The big thing for me with Youssef Chermiti is, and I find it laughable. I listened to Michael Stewart last night in Sports Scene saying he's got no potential and his all-round game is poor and things. Actually, if you watch him, his all-round game is very good, right? He actually is very good all-round. The big thing that Youssef Chermiti struggles with is putting the ball in the back of the net consistently. And I think if he can get more performances like that yesterday, he's going to rack up a lot more goals. Am I expecting him to score a hat-trick every single week? No, that's definitely not what I'm expecting. But strikers for title-winning sides score week in, week out. They score in big moments. They score in the run-of-the-mill games that you just expect your striker to show up in. And I think that's what I'm looking a little bit more from. But I certainly don't want to turn this into anything negative. I thought he was brilliant yesterday. Like, seriously, he was brilliant. I thought Hart struggled with him so much. The big thing you picked up on yesterday as well is how hard he worked off the ball, which is something I think we all think as supporters that you should just do, and professional footballers should just do it, but they don't, right? You watch plenty of teams where individuals and players just do not work as hard as we believe they should. I thought yesterday he done it brilliantly. He was tracking back, I think he tracked back as a Reedus at one point on the left wing, all the way back to our kind of right back area, and he won the ball, and he done that several times. So that's what I want from my strikers in these big games, is to put the hard yards in, and I think he's certainly done that yesterday. So I'm really happy for him, because it can't be easy dealing with the level of criticism that he's faced this season. In fact, you go back to midweek and he was facing it from everyone. Both you and I were giving him pelters for missing that chance. So to then respond to it, get a hat-trick like that, and if you go through the goals, I mean, the first one's brilliant because it's just pure determination to keep going. He might get a lucky break of the ball, but he takes a brilliant touch to set himself and he finishes it.
How does he score that and not the one against Motherwell? That's the enigma. It was such a good finish.
And this is what I mean. This is why I think the ability is definitely there. And I think this is why Danny Röhl is going to persist with him, because I think he thinks there's something there that I can definitely work with and I can coach and I can make better. And he maybe looks at, and this sounds really harsh, and I'm sorry to use him as an example, but maybe the likes of a Danilo or a Bojan Miovski, and he goes, I don't really know what I can work with you. You're kind of at that level where I don't know where I can take you. I think he looks at a Youssef Chermiti with his physical profile and his all-round game, and he thinks, see if I can get you as a more reliable goal scorer, I've got a really good player here. And I think that's why he will persist with him. The second one, I mean, I've not heard Ibrox like that for a long time. And we might come on to individuals and things, but the delivery from Skov Olsen is, I think I was sitting next to you at that point, Kel, and I said, we're just waiting for that moment from Skov Olsen to explode and do something. And maybe it wasn't to that level. Maybe you're looking for a goal, but he gets a little bit of space. He lifts his head. It's his weaker foot and he puts it right on the money. And then Chermiti, the leap is just unbelievable. It's so good. And the goalkeeper's got absolutely no chance. And like I said, we've already referred to the one from Gassama and the pass in that's great to finish. So I just want to see this more consistently for Chermiti. He does have a really good record in these big games, and we're going to need that towards the end of this season, because these 11 games are big games. So we're going to really rely on him. I think he's done enough now that people probably have to put things behind him, move on and get behind him. And I think we were questioning in the middle of this week about, has he done enough to be getting in the side every single week? Well, he's bought himself a little bit more time now with that hat-trick. So I think we maybe now have to shift our mindset on it a little bit and think of what can we do to get the best out of Chermiti? How do we set up to get the best out of him? Because if you set up in a way that fits him, he can be really effective and he can score goals. We've seen that at Parkhead. You've seen that against Hearts now. There is a player in there. I think we can work with it, and yeah, delighted for him. And like you said, if he can go out every night of the week now, that's absolutely fine with me. I'll pay for everything he's going out for. Just get out there and enjoy yourself. If you're going to score goals every weekend for Rangers, that's fine with me.
I know, get out every night with your missus, that's what you want. But listen, there's a few good comments coming in here about Chermiti. A-League Prospect says, I love Chermitinho, which is quite good. Wesley 18 says, Chermiti and Naderi is Boyd and Miller. And there's a really good couple of comments here from Luke Gibson. The first one, he says, if this doesn't kick on Chermiti, I don't know what will. He's like a young Dessers. And that's the thing. If our support thought that Dessers was an enigma, what genuinely, what does that make Chermiti? But this, I think, is one of the best comments we've had in the night, and it's by Luke Gibson again, and he says, I sometimes forget that he's only 21. His size makes you think that he's much older. He's still very, very raw, and it's very hard to disagree with that one there. Another player that's young was up top alongside Chermiti yesterday as well, and that was Ryan Naderi. I wanted to talk about him, Ross, because he was just another guy that I was so impressed with. I think I put it out on my own socials as well that I think that there was a bit of a formation, a partnership that you could sort of see between Naderi and Chermiti. I know it's very, very early days, but I really thought that the two of them, there could be something there. I thought that the way he used his body, the way he can control a ball, the way it almost seems he's very good at running with the ball for such a big, lanky guy. And there was a couple of times where he just sort of he took it and he just kept a hold of it, and you could see him totally disrupting that Hearts back line at times with it. That because I think his off the ball movement is something that that Rangers team has been severely lacking in. As you said, Chermiti's good with the ball. You know, he works hard getting it back. I don't think he can make some of the runs that Ryan Naderi does. And like the first goal that we scored yesterday, that just sums up everything about him. It was just that determination to get there. He might not have got the final touch, but Steinvinder doesn't smash that ball in his own net if Naderi's not there putting the pressure on him, Ross.
Yeah, I think that's what you really like about him, right? Is it very similar to Chermiti yesterday. His work rate off the ball was really good. Lots of really good touches as well. You referenced it, carrying the ball. He actually has a really big impact in both the first two goals from Rangers. Because, like you said, the first one, I don't think Steinvinder makes that mistake if Ryan Naderi isn't pressing and looking pressure on. It's one of those ones, if Steinvinder actually clears it straight towards the byline, I think it's hitting off Ryan Naderi's foot and it's going in. So I think that's why Steinvinder's panicked and he's trying to get it up and over the bar, and it's obviously not worked for him. But actually, the second goal as well, he's out on the right touchline, which again was a big thing about it yesterday. It gave them both a little bit of freedom to kind of go wherever they wanted, and they could just impact the game. I think that's maybe what Danny Röhl asked of him. And Ryan Naderi does look like the one that's going to lead the line more often than not, and Chermiti is the one that's going to drop. But yesterday, they were both doing well to pull out to the sides. And he pulls out to the right-hand side, and it's one of those touches where he has to kind of jump over the ball and drag it with him, if you know what I mean. And he does it really well, puts it into his path, and then he plays that kind of slide rule pass out the outside to Chermiti. Like we referenced, he gets a little bit of luck, but who cares? It comes back, and he makes the most of it. So, yeah, I really like him. We spoke about it last week. I think you have to give the club a lot of credit for that signing, because we could have easily sat on that, kept him until the summer, went and signed the likes of a Cameron Archer on loan that we maybe weren't as set on, but it's someone that we thought could have came in and do a job. But instead, the club have went, do you know what? Let's go out. Let's push the boat out. We've already agreed a deal. Let's give them a little bit more. Let's get the boy in now. He wants to be here. He wants to help. And I think we're starting to get the rewards of that. So, yeah, that partnership, I'm glad you referenced it. And you put it on your socials and stuff last night. That partnership is something I think we should go with. And I think a lot of people are quietly impressed with Naderi so far, and I think there's a lot more to come. I really do think that. So, yeah, I've enjoyed watching them so far. Kyle has been good.
Yeah, he's just going to be a handful for defences, and you just know he's going to cause so much chaos up there, and that's what I absolutely love. Another player that I absolutely love, and you might have even heard me proclaiming my love for him at the game yesterday, and that is our new Belgian left back. I have no idea how we've managed to get this guy, and honestly, I was a bit sceptical at all the new signings before he came in. You know, you saw his data, his underlapping runs, his overlapping runs, and you know, sometimes I'm a bit like, oh, the data looks good, but you know, what does it mean? He's been playing for Westerlo. You know, is this just a case that Ishman Shirais, you know, picked up the phone and just been like, here, this is a really good guy trying to get a bit of business for his club? But oh my God, Tuur Rommens might be one of my favourite players in that team already, Ross. I'm not joking. I just thought he was so good in that. Again, a really key first part for the first goal. His crossing ability is so good. I said it on last week's pod. He's so good at just being considerate and finding the right pass. But for me, the thing that stood out above all else yesterday was he is always available on that left-hand side. He's always available for a pass. I have no idea how he lasted that full game as well, because he's been the one that they've not they managed his minutes because he had an injury, but he even up until the full-time whistle, he was still running up, and I'm sure we've all seen that clip where he gets absolutely taken out in the box. I'm not sure who it is, but it's one of the Hearts players absolutely takes him out, and it's when I'm sure it's when Chermiti ends up scoring again, and he just turns around and just starts celebrating, and I absolutely love it. I love him so much already, and I think I'm delighted that we've got. And I'm not saying Magoma was bad. We've both been on here praising Magoma in the past, but just Rommens just totally brings a different dimension to that team, Ross.
Yeah, well, one of those build-ups yesterday, and in the attack, you're screaming your love for him as Rangers progress the ball up the park, which was really funny. Yeah, he's a monster up and down that line, isn't he? He's just someone that's going to run up and down the line all day. And I think, again, this comes back to the manager's kind of setup where he did put a Chukwuani and Raskan maybe a little bit more behind the ball, and it gives the wing backs that freedom to push on. And I think it's just utilising the skill set that he's got. Totally agree with you as well. His crossing is really measured. Like, you don't feel when he's getting into those final areas and close to the touchline that it's just one of those ones where I've made the effort to get here. I've made the run. I'll be praised for that anyway. So I'm just going to clip the ball into the box and hope for the best. You know, he's putting it where he wants it. Like, he is thinking there, I've got to the touchline here. Good bit of play. The best chance for me is to dink this to the back post. I can see Chermiti to the back post. That gives us a really good chance. Every time he gets into those areas, you think he's got the potential to create something. It was the same as well with Skov Olsen not long after, where he cuts the ball back. I think Hearts intercept it slightly, but Skov Olsen picks it up, and then Mikey Moore gets a shot off. That's like a couple of minutes after the equaliser. So I think we've got a really, really good player there. We referenced it again in the podcast the other night, so I won't go on about it too much. But Jaden Magoma probably feels a little bit unlucky because I don't think he's done too much wrong. But you're seeing Tuur Rommens after a couple of games, and he looks like he's just up a couple of levels from where Jaden Magoma is right now. And that's not a criticism of Magoma at his stage of his career. He's only 19. He's only going to improve. But I think Tuur Rommens he just looks like a Rangers player already. Do you know what I mean? The early signs are like, you're a Rangers player. Like, you understand the demands of playing here, and you're right up for it. And I think that is highlighted by the way he celebrated that goal yesterday, which, by the way, would 100% have been a penalty if we don't score, because Altena's fallen over and he just grabs his foot. So it would 100% been a foul, and I'm glad it didn't come to that. But yeah, obviously enjoyed the moment, and I think he's someone that's came here with the intention of, you know, playing a big part in this title race, and I think we're seeing that so far. He's a really good player.
Yeah, it definitely should have been a penalty if that goal didn't go in. But with some of the refereeing decisions from Don Robertson yesterday, I'm not quite sure that we would have had that. Just looking back on it, that booking Skov Olsen for a dive, absolutely ridiculous. But a couple of comments here on the left back situation. Luke Gibson says Magoma has been solid enough. Rommens just has that little bit something extra special. And Westall 18 says his reaction was class when the third goal went in. First successful transfer window since 55. And by the way, it's early days, but it's hard to disagree with that so far. But listen, Ross, this is a bit where we've kind of talked about a lot of the main players. I'll just sort of throw some names at you here, because listen, we could talk about every single player on that pitch yesterday and how they contribute to it. But there's just two players in particular. You know, Skov Olsen I thought was really good. We kind of touched on him. That's what he's in that team for, just delivering that single moment of quality when you need it, and he did yesterday. But for me, I want to touch on Tochi Chukwuani again, because I've just been so impressed by him, his physicality in the middle of that pitch, and his ability to recover the ball. He just seems to just mop up everything and just win it back. And as I've been on here before, and I said that he's exactly the type of guy, he just wanted to win it and then play on. And Mikey Moore, I did not realise how much he was involved in the virtually everything before it happened yesterday. You remember Todd Cantwell came in and he said, "What's your role in the team?" And it's, "I like to assist the assisters." Well, that was very much how I felt Mikey Moore was in that team yesterday. Again, he's so young. Because this is the thing that I think a lot of fans are forgetting. There was a lot of players 18, 21, 22, 23 on that pitch yesterday. and they really carried themselves. See, for me as well, Mikey Moore looks like a player that was born to play in games like that, in atmospheres like that. When he goes back to Spurs, their supporters are going to absolutely love what he does and what he brings to their team. But just in those two players, Tochi Chukwuani and Mikey Moore, what did you think of the two of them yesterday in terms of their contribution to the performance?
Well, I think you know already how much I love Mikey Moore. I think he's brilliant. And I think you're right to touch on there his age. Like, he's only 18, and the level he's playing at for an 18-year-old is unbelievable, really. To come into a club like this, I know that Spurs are a big club down south, but coming to a club like Rangers and being part of a title race at only 18 and just embracing it. Like, you listen to him in any of his interviews with the club, or if he's doing it with any broadcasters, and he absolutely loves it. This is what he wants to be part of, and it's such an early stage of his career that it's quite remarkable that he's already in that state. He speaks like a kind of seasoned pro already, and I think you see that in his performances. Such a good ball carrier. I mean, how many times yesterday did he grab the ball on the left-hand side and just dribble past several players inside? He can beat so many men. And he's just that really, he can just carry it with such conviction, and it's so difficult for players to get in and nick the ball off him. So yeah, I love him. I think he's brilliant. The only way I think Rangers have a chance of potentially keeping him on loan next year is if they get into the Champions League, and maybe Spurs look at it as like, that's 8 European games at a top level that he can get. But really, I think we're gonna find it really difficult to keep him. I think he'll be going back to Spurs. And actually, a lot of people are speaking about where he'll go next on loan. I wouldn't be surprised if they try and use him next season at Spurs, to be honest. I think he's already shown a decent level, and I think the Spurs fans think he's such a good player already. So brilliant, love him. To only be 18 and to producing at that level, like I said, is unbelievable. Tochi Chukwuani, I love any player that runs about the park with his collar up, because that's someone that just thinks I'm good enough for this. This is my game. I'm not sure about the one sleeve thing. I would like to work out what's going on there. I'm not really bothered about stuff like this. Players can wear whatever they like.
I'm sure I read it was because I'm sure he has a heart issue, or there was a heart issue picked up, and it helps with compression on that side.
There we go. So perfect. So if it is something to do with that, even better. And if it's something that helps him with performance, or even just gives him peace of mind, then that's absolutely fine. So I think, yeah, I really like his composure in the middle of the park. We spoke about it before. Brilliant second ball winner. Brilliant. I think he might suit the role that Raskan plays better than Raskan does. Like, I wonder if you might see a swap in that eventually, where Chukwuani becomes the kind of more of a sitter. And what I really like about him as well is, you seen it yesterday, he plays that ball in the first 10 minutes yesterday round the corner into Skov Olsen. He's deep on the left-hand side of our half, and he does have the vision to just pick his head up and just play that risky ball inside, and Rangers are away. I think if Chermiti has a better one touch with Skov Olsen, we're breaking at pace. So really impressed with him. I think as a whole, I think you can see that the business that Rangers have done in January is really good. Like, there's not a guarantee that Rangers are going to win those trophies at the end of the season. Of course not. There's a lot of games left to play, and it's going to be difficult. But I think those January additions have really given us a real boost, and I think all four of them bring quality, and that's what we needed. And Tochi Chukwuani, I think, is probably right at the top of that, to be honest. I think the others you look at more because they're in more of an attacking sense. Rommens is an attacking left back. You've got Skov Olsen, who's a highly rated Danish winger, and then Naderi up front. So you always kind of gravitate towards the attacking players. But actually, I think Chukwuani's probably been the standout so far, just because he's slotted into the midfield and he doesn't look like he's ever been away. Looks like he's just been playing here for a couple of years, and I think that's the biggest compliment you can give him. So yeah, I know how much you love him, Kyle. I'm starting to jump on that train as well. I think he's a great midfielder, and I think he's a really good bit of business from us.
Yeah, I think he's been brilliant since he came in. It was one of those ones where I keep having to tell myself he's not on loan, because I'm starting to really I'm consider every year. This is one for the viewers out there, just from our shirt collection. Every year at the end of the year, I always just get a player's name on the back of it and stick it in my box. You know, I've got Egeman and Tillman and all that sort of stuff. And this year, I already think it might be Chukwuani, to be honest with you. But listen, just a couple of comments about, there he is, and his Predators and his collar up there. It was a thing of beauty to see at Ibrox yesterday.
The best football boot ever made is Preds, by the way. the best. So it's always a sign of a player if they're running about in Preds. So yeah, fair play to him. He's definitely got the image of a good football player. Absolutely.
I'll take that all day long. But Ian Ablin says, I'm convinced Mikey Moore will score in the Old Firm at Ibrox. It's written in the stars. I too hope he gets another Old Firm goal as well. Luke Gibson here says, I'm desperate to see him stay for another loan. Imagine how good he will be next year. Tango 1876 says, really like the look of Chuck T. And Luke Gibson again says, Chukwuani has filled in really well for Barron's absence. Listen, I was really rating Barron as coming on to a game before he left us. He's going to find it really, really hard to get in that midfield now. But then again, we've got a few games now into the end of the season. I can see Rohl rotating it and mixing it as he has done. But listen, Ross, just one of the final points I want to talk about before we go and look ahead to some of the other games. The players aren't allowed to look ahead to the other games, but because we are supporters, we're allowed to look ahead at the other games. But it was the fans, the atmosphere yesterday. Obviously, it was Armed Forces Day yesterday at Ibrox. But it's been a long, long time since I can remember a game at Ibrox in the league that wasn't either a European night or the Old Firm where the atmosphere was like that. A couple of things I just want to say about this. First of all, fair play to Rangers Football Club for the campaign, the full 90. I think that's really worked. Ibrox was packed yesterday, absolutely stowed out. There wasn't a spare seat in the house round about where we were. And the other thing I just want to talk about is how much it obviously impacts the team, the players. The manager mentioned that all the post-match interviews from all the players I've heard have mentioned how good the atmosphere was. I mean, you look at Chermiti's interview in RTV and he's like, that atmosphere was top. You can tell. And that's what you want. You keep playing like that, you're going to get that atmosphere. Maybe not every week, but you're going to get close to it. And then the third thing was the fact that McInnes mentioned it as well. How good was the atmosphere yesterday, and how much did you enjoy just being in Ibrox? And despite being 2 goals behind, or losing the lead or going behind twice, and a very, very sort of the last sort of cup leading into that last 10 minutes, it was a bit nervy. But then when the goal went in, it was all good after that.
I think Kel, the support made the difference yesterday. I think we always tend to look at what's on the park, and you look at the players individually, and you always analyse the football. I think the Ibrox crowd made the difference, to be honest with you. I think there was a real shift in mentality. I think you're right to bring it up about the campaign from the club, the full 90. I think it's made a big difference. And I really like it because the club are trying to highlight how powerful the support can be. And players have spoke about this over the last few years, how influential the support can be in big nights like that. And look, it's difficult to get that sort of atmosphere every single week. Of course, there's games where you go to Ibrox and it's run of the mill, and it's difficult to generate that atmosphere, and there is an expectation that Rangers win the game. But I do think the big shift yesterday was backing the players, because we've all been to Ibrox, and if a stray pass has been played or they haven't started well in the first 10, 15 minutes, you hear the moans, you hear the groans, you hear people shouting, and it does impact the players. They're only natural, they're human beings. If they feel that the fans aren't behind them, they're going to suffer from it. I think that was the big thing that made the difference yesterday. See, when Hart scored that second, I was a bit fearful at that point that Ibrox return. It was the opposite. Like, everyone was pushing the players on to get the ball and get it back to the kickoff and just go and try and get back in the game. And I think that's a big shift from what we've been used to. And as much as the club deserve credit for highlighting these things and trying to promote the full 90 and the full house, I think the support have to be really proud of their efforts yesterday, because I really do think they made the difference, and it was great to be part of. Like, I love Ibrox when it's like that. That's the Ibrox I grew up with as a wee boy. Maybe you don't notice as much of the moans and groans when you're a wee boy, but as I remember growing up and going to the games with my dad, that was it. Like, that type of atmosphere, the roar of the fans when the goals go in, and 4 of them yesterday. Maybe we were a little bit lucky in that in terms of the response, but I just thought that everything involved in the game was brilliant from the support, and I think they deserve a lot of credit. I've seen a really great video, I think, from, is it Blair that's at Rangers Review, of the, I think, was it the Copeland stand when the last goal went in, and it's unbelievable. And I mean, you've got loads of accounts down south referencing that and saying, look how, like, look at the support that you get in Scottish football. Look at this. You don't get this down south. You don't get this in England. This is different. And it's great to see Rangers being, and the support being held up for that. So yeah, I was absolutely delighted with the way that the fans approached the game yesterday. And I think that's something that we can all take going forward now, that we can play a big part in this. Absolutely, we can. Sometimes you just look at the football and think the players have got to do it. And of course they do. They're the ones in the park. But we can help. Like, we can push these players on, whether it's at home, whether it's at the away support's always unbelievable. So that never changes. But at Ibrox, we can all make a difference. We can all push these players on, and we can will them to a title, and that's what it's all about. So yeah, I think everyone should be proud of their efforts yesterday. Players, staff, and the fans that turned up at Ibrox, they made the difference, and let's do it again 11 times this season and win the league.
Yeah, well said. It was brilliant being in that atmosphere, and as you said, that there was going behind twice. I did worry, especially the first goal coming from a mistake, and you're just like, oh, here we go again. But the crowd rallied, and the team needed it, and it just shows you if there's ever a lesson. See, when the fact that the opposition managers coming out and mentioning it, the crowd helped them, and he didn't say it once or twice. And just see as an aside, I thought Derek McInnes sounded very, very rattled in that post-match press. I don't think he was expecting Rangers to come out and to lose that game 4-2. I do not think at all we did it, and hopefully that sows a few seeds of doubts in amongst the heart ranks there. But listen, the very last point I want to come on to here, Ross, is just about the fixtures. I'm just going to sort of look at the next 5 games. It's Livingston away, then we've got Celtic at home twice, obviously once in the league, once in the Scottish Cup. Then we've got St Mirren away and Aberdeen at home. What I was going to say, what the Rangers need to do in this, but that's just a silly question because it's just win as many games as possible. But I mean, how are you expecting it to unfold? How are you expecting, Röhl to manage the squad? And do you think those 2 Old Firm games in there, are they going to define our season, do you think?
I think so. There's no other way to get away from that, is there? I think obviously the big one first in the league, the Rangers have to take 3 points because of the way the league sits at the moment. That we have to take advantage of these home games. Going into a split that you're going to be away to both Hearts and Celtic in that. So we have to take advantage of that. Of course, the Scottish Cup will take care of itself, and I'm sure we'll speak about that in a couple of weeks on the podcast. But in terms of the league, I think Rangers have to go with the intention of winning all these next 6 games until the split. Yeah, it will be because it's 5 in the split. So 6 games until the split. I think the intention's got to be to win all 6 of these games to give us ourselves the best chance in the split. I think Rangers, really realistically, we've got to be hoping that we're sitting top of the league going into that split to give us the best chance. I'm not ruling out Rangers getting results away at Parkhead or away at Tynecastle, but I think just to give us a little bit more of a momentum and feel like you're in control of the situation, I think you'd want to go into that split being top of the league. So that should be the ambition for the next 6 games. I think it's a decent run for us, to be honest with you. I think it starts with Livingston next weekend, then you've got Celtic at home, away to St Mirren, so that's two of the bottom 3, I think, because St Mirren are 10th, and they've been really struggling this season. They've not been able to find a lot of form. Aberdeen at home, really poor form they've been in lately. Dundee United as well, poor form. The tough one's going to be at the end, probably with Falkirk, because I think they've been brilliant this season for coming up for the Championship. So I think if you wanted to pick a run going into the split, it's not far off what we've got. So I think we have to look at that and try and take advantage of it and find 6 wins from this and give ourselves the best chance. But look, of course, there's going to be twists and turns. We know that. The likelihood is we are going to drop points, but I think the other title rivals in this race are going to drop points as well. So I think you're right. As many points as possible, keep ourselves in the race and take this right to the wire, because I think that's what it's going to be this season. And I just want Rangers to be part of that and give ourselves a chance.
That's it. Go and hunt until you become the hunted, isn't it? That's exactly what you want in those few games. But we've just got to go out, give our all. And as you said, it is I don't want to say it's a kind run, because you still got to go out and beat Livingston. But look at you wanting to pick 2 Old Firm games in there and a run in towards the end of the season if you could. But listen, I think that just about wraps it up for this episode. I want to say I did say that I didn't think Hearts and Celtic would win every game between now and to the end of the season, and I've already been proved right with that, so I'm absolutely delighted. But a massive thank you to everybody who's tuned in, whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening to us in audio. The support, the conversations, and the different opinions are always what drives this channel forward. If you'd like to help us grow, the easiest way to do so is to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn those notifications on so you don't miss anything. A huge percentage of the viewers, I think it's almost sort of, I think it's 80, 75% aren't subscribed yet. So that one quick click genuinely makes a huge, big difference, just like Big Chermiti did yesterday. But let us know your thoughts on everything we discussed in the comments. We always read them all. We always try and jump in and reply to you guys. If you're one of our audio listeners, you can find Let's Talk Rangers on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all other major podcast platforms. We'll be back soon with more reaction to the weekend's reaction against Livingston. So thank you all for your support, and we will catch you in the next episode.